been a week since civil security lost a battle against another more advanced organization, Correction 9. All the troops, all the equipment, everything that was associated with the CS was destroyed. All that remained of the military organization was another headquarters that was located in Canada, in the mountains of Lucania, but the headquarters is several times smaller than the main one, which at this moment was destroyed by Naples, Italy. There were only 50 soldiers left in the civil security layout, 10 workers who worked on the blueprints for weapons and made them, 3 scientists who also helped make weapons, and of course, secret technologies and various medications. And finally, 3 key individuals: Enrico Warquez, the leader of the organization; Ivan Cipher, the leader's best friend and assistant; Jack Swift, also a friend of the previously mentioned people and deputy leader of CS. May 3rd, 2934, Canada. The heroes were confused and did not know what to do next, because everywhere there is one danger. If people found out about them, then everything will go like a copper basin, and all the CS members will be sent to prison. Or in the worst case, they'll be shot, until they started another conversation on this topic. "We were really close to victory," said Enrico, "but it was all useless. How could I have made such a mistake?" "It's not your fault. We all thought that CN would surrender, but even we were not ready to defeat them. Look, I know this sounds very dangerous and extreme, but we have to revive civil security at all costs," Jack added. "He's telling the truth, W. You yourself told us you can figure this out." I have enjoyed the conversation. "I had a nightmare yesterday. I see it every time I think about next year's Zero. Damn, this is difficult. It's hard to lose a friend, and a closer friends at that. Even in the last 3 weeks, Zero has been a good partner, even more." "Enrico, don't stop just because you had a dream. You're a legend. The whole of Italy knows about you, or even more. Do you really want to humiliate your country? With your fears, your dreams, your thoughts, and whatever you want," Ivan shouted. Enrico looked at the photograph in his hands. It depicted his team and himself. The heroes looked at photos for more than a minute, and then he was struck by the image of the coat of arms, CS. Jack noticed his companion was looking at the photos for a long time. It was taken more than 2 weeks ago. "We believe in you, my friend," Jack said after he patted him on the shoulders. Ivan and Jack left the command center of the headquarters, and the main character was left alone. He looked at the photo for a long time, and every time Zero caught his eye, a picture appeared in front of him, where the CN soldiers surrounded the young soldier and fired at him non-stop. When he looked at Nixie, he heard her voice in his head saying, "I love you." Enrico closed his eyes and leaned forward. Screams for help, for pain, shots, taunts, and that's what he heard. One small tear flowed from his left eye, which he quickly wiped away and nervously got up from the chair and went to the mirror. The look changed to a more serious and stern one, and the eyes became bloody, filled with anger. "Enough," he said quietly. "I need to stop being afraid. I'm starting to gradually lose faith in myself. I need to stop this nightmare." Enrico pulled out a pistol and shot in the mirror. The cracks went in different directions, and as a result, the cracks created a circle. "Hearns, this is not the end. I'll come for you. I'll take what you stole from me. You can't stop me." Several hours passed. Enrico decided to gather his colleagues and tell them about his plan, namely penetration into the old territory of the CN base, because the headquarters could be protected by enemy troops, which means that his team must act carefully and be prepared. On May 5th morning, Enrico, Jax, and 6 other soldiers went to Italy to reach the CN territory. Ivan stayed at the headquarters of CS to watch them, and by the way, he was great at computer technology and everything connected with it. The ship reached the regional forest of Roccarinola, and the soldiers landed in a small clearing among 20-meter trees. The forest was in Naples, Enrico's hometown. The distance between them and the headquarters was 5 kilometers, you ask. What for? This was done so that they would not be spotted by the enemies and could not find their spacecraft. The infantrymen walked through a muddy forest in which there had recently been heavy rain. After 1 hour, they reached the enemy gate to the base, which had already been destroyed. In front were the scouts, followed by Enrico and Jack. Behind were 2 more armed men. And so a conversation began between Jack and the leader of CS. "Alright, listen to me carefully. Look for all CN devices or weapons. And this is our main task, to learn the technologies of our enemies. Just be careful. There may be enemy troops here." Enrico said that he was holding a machine gun and was inside the building with the rest of the people. Yes, sir, answered his soldiers, and went in search of enemy equipment. Only Jack was left alone with his companion. Good idea to steal from weapon technology, as they stole it from us. I knew you wouldn't give up, Jack said. Thunder, there's only one thing I don't understand. Why did they leave their headquarters? It is not destroyed enough to be left abandoned. Moreover, everything here is as it was on April 25th. Blood, ruins, a broken military route, and I dream about it almost every day. Perhaps they have completely different plans, and Herms himself does not have time to clean up his tracks, including ours. Strange. Maybe this is an ambush. In any case, we're not losing anything anymore, said Enrico. His walkie-talkie vibrated from the front of his combat suit. None other than Ivan Cipher got in touch. Welcome. What's the matter, Ivan? Asked Enrico. Welcome, W. I learned something about this base. Everything works here. Electricity, gas, water supply, everything, Ivan replied as he was looking at them through a computer. That is, there is even a power plant working here? Okay, let's go, Thunder. One thing to check. Wait, Enrico. Ivan, how did you know that the base is in order? Jack asked with interest. Stupid question. After all, when W and I infiltrated their base a few weeks ago, I discovered a backup power reactor that was several floors lower than the main reactor. So much time had passed and you still remember where everything is? Well done, Cipher, Enrico added. I remember a lot of things, and even that which is not necessary to know. And this is not CN. Don't worry. We don't have time for jokes. You better tell me where the command center of this headquarters is, Jack said. Thought you knew. Okay, it doesn't matter. He's 200 meters from you. And by the way, underground. Find the elevator, or find your way to the center. Okay, I'm not a sage. You'll find an elevator in sector SC-03, which is also not far from you, Ivan said as he was drinking coffee. Don't yawn, Ivan. Your time for assignments will come soon, so get ready, Jack added as he was examining the broken room. Thank you for the information, Ivan. If we find something, we'll contact you, Enrico said as he was walking through broken walls and pieces of broken concrete and quartz. After a while, the heroes found the command center. They looked for anything that could be useful to them and to the entire organization. Of course, they took most of the things with them, but a big surprise awaited them ahead. Look what I found. Was their most standard weapon the C01R assault rifle. In my life, I've seen many guns, but this is the first time I've seen this, said Jack as he was picking up a new one, as if straight from the factory. An assault rifle with a red sight and a great white body. Even now, I do not believe that we came here. This place, it oppresses my mind so much, protested Enrico, who turned on an unknown computer and a white marble table. Most likely, this is the office of Herms. Yes. Ugh, how he annoys me. The computer immediately turned on and Enrico noticed a program called SV the Watcher on his desktop. This interested him and he entered it. What is this program? Jack said in a low voice. Seems to me, or this program, said Enrico, but before he had time to finish, a video appeared on the screen. But in fact, it all happened in real time. Wait, are we watching what is happening through the visor of the soldier CN? It's incredible. Wow, how is that possible? And in general, can they find out about us? Added Jack. Don't even say that. It's better to find out where this soldier is going, Enrico replied as he was closely watching the actions of the enemy. And at one moment, a soldier knocked out some doors and he and his people entered a large room. It was the secret headquarters, CS, where the general was the leader himself. He sat at the chair, as if he was waiting for his death. Oh no, just not that, said the leader of CS to himself. A few seconds later, one of the CN people spoke to the general. Ah, well. Whom do I see? General Pyrrhus. More precisely, ex-general. Knew that you would come for me, Cooper, the general replied as he folded his hands and put them on the table. Stop calling me by my nickname. The name's Herms, and you are a bag of shit. We'll now repay our debts. Enrico became even more angry when he learned that this unknown person was Herms. Damn it. He is again. That is, the general knows him? Enrico said furiously. It looks like CS does not tell us everything. You know we are ordinary pawns, mercenaries, added Jack. Mercenaries, first of all, work for money, and we are our own masters. Further, Herms continued his conversation with the general. Well, Pirates, I have a special offer for you. You can give me the location of the secret base, CS, and in return, I'll let you live. But of course, you'll be my slave. Herms went up to the general and put his pistol to his forehead. Or, you die and we'll find him anyway, and you screw up. The choice is yours, life or death. Duh. Even if I'm on your side, I'll never betray civil security. May God protect you, Warkvez. The general said this, and a plasma charge from the pistol of the leader of Cien flew into his head. Goddamn fanatic. What a fucking mess, shouted Herms at the top of his voice, and threw out everything that was on the dead man's table. I knew that I would spend my time on this bastard, and now it remains only to look for these scoundrels. Paris broke the radar in the main radio station. CS. Wonderful. The man in the white cloak said sarcastically. Mind this place, we have nothing to look for here. General, he did not betray us. Rest in peace to this brave man, said Enrico. It will take them years to find our headquarters. We can change everything while there is time, Jack said happily. Oh, I haven't seen you smile for a long time. Well, it's time to start everything from scratch. But first, you need to take this computer. It has a lot of useful information, said Enrico. I will help, only first you need to turn off the computer system. You never know, all the files will be erased from his hard drive, said Jack, as he took out a screwdriver. After all, the system unit was attached to the table itself, and the table was made of metal, which was painted white. After a while, soldiers came to the aid of the heroes, who found many unknown and useful things of the evil organization. Enrico ordered the device to be carried back to the spacecraft, while they continued to explore the vast Correction 9 headquarters. After a short research, Enrico found what he did not expect to see, a dead body that lost its soul. It was next to H, his beloved. Herms fired a bright plasma shot into her beautiful, fragile forehead, and a small hole remained after the fatal blow to the head. Nixie, Enrico said, walking to her body. Jack stayed in the same place he came from. It was difficult for him to look at the grief of his comrade. He did not want to interfere so as not to harm him. The mercenary took a cigarette without a filter and lit it with a fuel lighter. Enrico looked at her inanimate face for a long time, until he decided to take the girl with him. At this moment, the leader felt sad. He did not care about the whole world when he was next to Nixie. Jack followed Enrico behind him. The soldiers contacted the heroes and said they were ready to return to the base. After that, 2 years passed. Civil security had developed well in terms of weapons and equipment during this time, but there was one main problem. People. There were few of them, only 50 people. New people could not join or work with them because the authorities decided to close CS forever, and those who dared to join would be killed. Enrico, along with his squad, gradually carried out operations, most of them related to Cien. More than 14 secret outposts and camps were destroyed thanks to a brave leader, Captain Warkvez. It doesn't sound like much, but how did it affect the world? What did they give people their partisans' actions? The main character had one task, to avenge his fallen friends, and most importantly, for Nixie H. Because of all these nightmares, he could not remain in peace. All his thoughts were only about revenge, and it was because of this that he did not stop and continued the battle with his most ardent enemy, Herms. After these years, Ivan Cipher only now remembered that he had acquaintances, that they were preparing new recruits and making them mercenaries. Enrico was somehow pleased with this news, because the more people, the more the strength of the organization, and the morale of the soldiers will be, because civil security is one big family. Ivan, the leader of the organization, flew to Ukraine, while Jack Swift was in charge of the headquarters of CS in Canada. The way to Ivan's homeland took 6.5 hours because the spacecraft had old turbines and developed a maximum speed of 1,200 kilometers per hour. Evening, June 6th, 2936, Ukraine, the city of Kamenetsky. Enrico followed Ivan because only he knew where to turn for help, and when they almost arrived at their destination, they started another conversation. It's strange that you remembered about your acquaintances just now, said Enrico as he followed him through the swamp. I myself can't believe that I forgot such an important detail. It seems that I'm really starting to grow old. Damn, why did we go through this fucking swamp? Ivan replied to him, as he was trying to carefully step over the dirty, wet ground recently as it was raining. Oh, really? Then who brought us here? Me? Enrico said with surprise. In this country, this kind of weather is already the norm. Believe me, in Italy, it is 10 times better than this ass of the world. By the way, we almost came here. The abandoned factory, Critney Marie. Ivan pointed to the building, which is quite large behind its area. Around the building, there was a garden with naked flowers, tulips. And even more of the atmosphere here was given by bags of garbage just lying on the threshold of the abandoned factory. Geez, do you have a mess here? Is there really rubbish lying on the streets all over the city? No, W, we have several clean cities, even very clean and very progressive. Lviv, Kyiv, and Kharkiv. But most of them are depressed cities. They are not very comfortable to live in, especially if you have a low salary or you are a poor student. For example, I said that. Ivan replied, they entered an old factory where a yellow lamp was barely glowing. Several people were standing around it. Some of them were armed and wearing old military suits. They entered an old factory where a yellow lamp was barely glowing. Several people were standing around it. Some of them were armed and wearing old military suits. The heroes did not remain unattended. People raised their weapons and looked in their direction. One of them spoke to our heroes. You guys seem to have mixed up the area. Who are you? Said the young man, in whom there was a smoky velvet Ukrainian voice. Don't you remember me? It's me, Ivan. Ivan Romanovich, remember? Wait, you're the same kid who was going to work in CS, added a man with black hair, very white skin, and a dark blue suit. Boss, this is Cipher. Cannot be. After so many years you've come to us, but why? What interests you in coming back to us again? Said the man in brown camouflage. We need your help. I know maybe this is not the best time, but Ivan did not have time to finish when the old man interrupted him, that he had left another room. Ivan boy, I haven't seen you for a long time. What came for help? He said that CS is one of the best military organizations in the world, said the old man in a Ukrainian accent that he had lisped on almost every word. My friend is not to blame for this. The reason for our collapse. Correction 9, added Enrico, as he was slowly approaching the people unknown to him. All Ivan's acquaintances shuddered and were horrified by what they heard. It turns out the Americans were right. They really lost. But what about the CS of Ukraine? Said a man in a green cap in a frightened voice, who was standing behind his colleagues. They died. All of them. We thought that with our numbers we could crush them like bugs, but we were wrong. CN exterminated almost all of the people from our organization. Only 53 people remained, Ivan answered in a sad voice. Therefore, we came for your help. You have combat training, and we have weapons, military gear, armor equipment. But the most important thing is that we continue to fight against them. After this battle, we did not retreat. On the contrary, we began to strive even more towards the destruction of CN and the return of peace and harmony, said the young leader. Who are you hippies? Said the man with the velvet voice. The old man hit his subordinate with a cane and shouted at him. Aren't you ashamed? This is himself, Enrico Warquez. At least respect this man. Go on, hero. My friend said that you can solve our problem with the troops. Is it possible to organize? Enrico said in Russian. Tell me about this in more detail. I'll be glad to discuss all of the options for our joint union. You also have your own organization, right? Why don't you move your troops to our secret base? He asked the old man, who had already given an answer to his question. Tell me the number, and I'll do everything. Believe me, Major Shpopovsky can do a lot. We need at least 250 people, preferably recruits, to teach them the roles of civil security. Can you do that? Also, in return, you will receive the money that we found in the camps, CN, and believe me, we have a lot of them. Yes or no, it's up to you, Major. The old man grabbed his clumsy beard with his fingers and began to touch every hair of it. While his soldiers stood behind and whispered among themselves about it, the answer was obvious. Everything is good for the legendary Enrico Warquez. The old man came closer to him and took his hand. What an honor to stand next to someone like you. Probably your ancestors may be military. Enrico just wanted to say a word when he was interrupted. I knew it! Well, I will find people, I promise. Give me 3 weeks and you will see a crowd of recruits in front of you. Okay, well, welcome to civil security, said Enrico proudly. Will you recruit people in Ukraine? Ivan added as he was standing behind his friend. Cipher, are you glad to see us? After all, 12 years have passed. You're not used to seeing me in this form, right? Time runs out as well as life. Major Shpokovsky, I'm seriously, I'm glad to see you. You see, the reason I joined CS is Forgive me for interrupting you, Ivan, but I remember how you said that you work only for the sake of money. One of Shabosky's people perked up. It's a lie. I never worked for money. I only buy food and no more. The war gave me clothes, weapons, a house, friends. Ivan looked at Enrico and smiled at him. An old friend. I have known him since the age of 18. Yeah, try to lie to us again, mercenary. Stop arguing, Vlad. Take our guests to my room while I'm looking for something, said the old man who was chuckling on his way to the other door. You don't have much room here. As for a factory, we have a little more of yours in Italy and have more modern technology, but I like the architecture of the city, Enrico said, nodding his head. Wait a minute, this is your first time here, but how did you get to know Cipher when he was 18? A man in green visor asked in surprise as he was setting fire to a homemade cigarette without a filter. He lived in Naples, Italy, the CSCA Academy. I will not tell you further. This is his personal story, answered Enrico, who had a seal on his face because he knew his full story from life. Oh, yeah? All began to speak sharply and began to run into Ivan. We decided to fork out. Private Romanovich, eh? For some reason we're learning this for the first time. I flew to Italy because my grandfather's Italian roots were passed on to me. I know this language with a bang. You can ask me anything you want, and I'll give you 100% correct answers. And in general, could you shut the fuck up, Apakarovich? Ivan answered them, and that he had come close to his old colleague. The leader of CS did not observe this. He dismounted them and ordered Spekovsky's men to stop. One pistol shot at the ceiling was enough for him to stop it. Stop this circus. Have a conscience. Do not cripple each other. You're brothers. We're all brothers here. Take a look at yourself. You're not even going to end the conflict. And after that, you say that you strive for peace? Are you going to restore freedom and justice if you cannot solve even such a trifle? Ivan, this also concerns you, Enrico said in a raised tone, walking around them. I understand you, friend. I'm sorry. It's my fault. Ivan confirmed that he was looking at the Ukrainian soldiers. And CS, first of all, the captain takes the blame because it is he who answers and gives advice to his fighters. But you are great. It was a correct and noble deed, and it's better to solve the situation with the mind and not by force. But you yourself use the weapons. What is it for? One of the soldiers did not speak, and the hero also found an answer to his question. Not realizing that you're wrong is also wrong. This is a sign of stubbornness and bad manners. Finding excuses is a petty situation in which you yourself are to blame. It is the same as deceiving yourself. Enrico continued to say until everyone was quiet. You've learned your lesson. Now take us to your commander's office, he finished in a calm, light voice. After that, Major Shababowski them in the main room, where there was only him and two heroes. The old head invited them to drink vodka as a sign of reconciliation. Only Enrico refused. Ivan drank only 50 grams, and after that, he also did not want to drink. The conversation was not very long, a few minutes, and after it, they formally concluded an agreement to an alliance between them and civil security. 3 months later, the CS headquarters is developing. The leader had more than 300 soldiers at his disposal. Most of them were already ready for future operations. Surprisingly, it was quiet around Italy, Canada, and Ukraine. No signs of CN, terrorist attacks, suspicious actions, nothing. And so on September 10th, 2936, late in the evening in the forest of the Lucania Mountains, enemies using the CN technologies were discovered, which meant that it was time to go on another hunt. Enrico, Ivan, Jack, and 7 more fighters went in search of unknown enemies because the radar that they took to CN updated the results every time, and the latter showed that these enemies were not all the people of Herms. This forest is really huge, probably more than Rocarinola, Ivan said as he was sniffing. Did you notice it? Well, now you know everything, my friend. Jack was surprised as he looked at the radar and led them to the goal. We are there, but there is no one here. Everyone get ready. Maybe it's an ambush, said Enrico. Ivan shrugged and turned aside to blast all the snot, but suddenly he noticed a tied man. He was in a white suit and wore a white helmet with a transparent visor on his head. Holy truth! People, I found someone, Ivan Cipher responded. What have you got there? Did you find any clues? Said the leader of CS, going to him. And this is more interesting. Sally Corpofield Larcy, come here. You need to examine this poor fellow, he told his people. I wonder who his is. Ivan did not have time to say as he was immediately caught by unknown people in dark blue camouflage. What the hell? They put Ivan on the ground and held him back. Enrico and Jack took up their weapons to aim at the attackers, but suddenly enemies came out of all the trees, and they were all in the same suits. All the CS soldiers were seized, and the enemy's weapons were already near their heads. Only Jack and Enrico were safe and sound. One of the people in blue ran at the main character with a sword in his hands, but alas, he did not manage to kill him. Enrico held his sword with an automatic machine gun and then, with a dexterous movement, turned the enemy over his back, but the fight stopped because someone said stop. A man with long yellow hair emerged from the crowd of armed soldiers. In his hands he held a device similar to the CN radar. These are not nines, do not look like them in character. Who are you? Said the long-haired man. What the hell are you? Shouted Ivan, who was lying on the ground. I don't communicate with non-cultured people. He approached and put a pistol to Cipher's head, but I punished right away. Wait, don't touch him. You can talk to me. I'm in charge. And Enrico responded as he was walking towards an unknown person. Don't come close. I have you at gunpoint. You are all at gunpoint. Tell me who you are and you may survive. He spoke about nines. How do they look? Maybe we know them too. Jack joined the conversation. Silence! You have no idea what you are asking, strangers. They are able to gut everything in their path, and their leader is a cold-blooded monster that exterminates everyone he doesn't like or who he wants to take revenge on. Herms, said Enrico. The yellow-haired warrior looked at him with a different look, more calm and human. How do you know him, warrior? He took my close friends away from me. I have nightmares every night about how he shoots them every time. I'm looking for him, to equalize the scores of them, once and for all, Enrico replied with an angry voice from the memory. Anna, from one word of the yellow-haired man. All his subordinates fell silent and let go of Enrico's team. I have a similar story, but yours is worse than mine. Tell me, honestly, who do you work for? Buddy, I think you confused something. We are civil security. There is a hero in front of you, Ivan said in a raised tone. And another thing, stay the hell out of my way. What? It can't be. Enrico Larquez, but you disappeared without a trace. How did you get here? Frankly, this is a very long story. I can only say that we're looking for a common enemy, and that is, we can unite our forces against Herms and his people. Enrico interpreted in a slightly loud voice. Ha ha ha! The African laughed with a noble laugh. I'm glad to hear that, but you probably know who I am, no? Then I'm ready to get acquainted. We are national civil security. We lost our homes, headquarters, all because of Correction 9. Their leader said this. You cannot hide from us. I will always find what I want and what I need. I'll never forgive him for what he did to my friends. Lord, we all converge as if this is a reflection of our history, Enrico said to himself in his head. Then what are you doing here? In the world, there is a hunt for everyone who belongs to us. Are you hiding? Jack asked with interest. We are traveling, and yes, we have to hide and only hope that no one will detect us. You know, my friend, it sounds strange, but the only ones who hunt us are the British brute and his fellow bodyguards. Bodyguards? What are you talking about? Warriors who lost their parents in childhood or simply became victims of the CN experiments. Found out a very long ago, half a year ago, but it's not as simple as it seemed at first glance. One of his bodyguards is my brother. He made him a monster, a killing machine that destroys everyone and everything. He didn't even know who I was. Son of a bitch. He simply makes slaves out of people for his own good, and also a CS soldier. God, this eloquent nerd pisses me off, Jack said. Calm down, we all understand you, Thunder, Enrico reassured him. What's your name? Captain NCS, Carium Neptune. I am African, originally from Liberia, but at the age of 6, I, along with other residents of our city, sailed to America. From an early age, I liked weapons, but not because I liked to kill living beings. I hated to kill others, but once, I had to do it. I took the life of my parents and my sister's killers with my own hands. It's hard to say, but I did it when I was only 14 years old. My mother was also killed when I was very young, and even to this day, I still cannot find the culprit. My father died of a serious combat injury, and at that time I was 19 years old. Parents are very hard to lose, Enrico added. I tried to forget it. So, what are we going to do, Captain Warquez? Wait, but you have your people. Why do you suddenly want to be my servant? In general, I'm not used to listening to someone's advice. I myself know what to do, and no, I'm not stubborn. Just my character does not allow listening to people. I do this because you're a legend. I dreamed of seeing you one day, but my work did not allow me to do this. Every single day we had tasks. They were good times. I'm waiting for an answer from you, my friend. You can call me what you want. You have the right to do so. For me, you'll be Carrion, and no more. Your name is noble and sonorous, in a sense, even divine. Jack shared the idea that he said this with great sympathy. I really don't like it when people praise me for nothing. The name does not mean anything, and this looks more like a handshaker. But thank you. By the way, introduce your team. I suspect this guy in the blue bandana has a lot of vocabulary, which means he loves books and philosophy. Do not ask how I know this. I see right through a person. Well, that's for sure. He is, one might say, our own philosopher. Jack Swift, or Thunderjack. And this is my best friend, Ivan Cipher. And yes, I know, he can be a little stubborn, but that's not the point. He understands computer technology and everything connected with them. He's a cryptographer. I remember you had 3 more people in your team. Where are they? Michael Revell died of serious injury. Nixie H died from the shot of Herms, and Zero sacrificed his sake of our salvation. A quiet voice answered Jack, listening to the forest wind. I am very sorry. They were your friends, probably even close friends. I sympathize. But I have a question. Who is this secret fighter with this code named Zero? Enrico, along with his troops and people, Carrion went to the headquarters of CS, which was 20 kilometers from them. Land transport was also not far away, just 3 kilometers, and after half an hour they got to 3 roomy trucks with turrets on their buildings. Who would have thought that Enrico Vargas himself will come to our cunning trap? I think you can forgive us for this misunderstanding, isn't it? Said Carrion's elegant English with an African accent. I just can't understand why we learn about you only on this day, Ivan said oddly. Hush, the forest does not like sharp sounds. Carrion whispered to him in his ear. But you yourself, hush! Quietly, someone comes here, and he's very fast. Prepare. Carrion took the laser railgun and warned his people. It seemed to me that it is CN. I know it, I added, Enrico, which also said softly between other heroes. A soldier flew between them in a white suit, which quickly descended from the hill. He stopped and hid behind a stone that was behind the soldiers. After him, there were small traces of which electrician emitted. Everything slept. What was it? A robot? One of the soldiers' CS was frightened. Not sure, but now check, Jack replied him. Wait, let me go first too, says Carrion, that went to a big cobblestone. As soon as he began near him, he was immediately captured for the throat and raised up with ease and without difficulty. The unknown enemy threw him towards the soldiers and then began to shoot from the machine that shot white, almost transparent plasma charges. Open fire to this asshole, shouted Ivan, and rushed into battle. Almost all the people shot a fighter with an elastic costume. Alas, all the shots seemed to fly away from him, and some wounded the soldiers themselves. Damn it! Take this, moron! This is it. This is Assassin CN. Be careful, it's not easy to get to them, Jack answered him. But how does he manage to beat such accurate blows? And where he got his unknown sneaking suit? Enrico continued to shoot him until he ended the cartridges. But he was not going to give up. It was his plan, to become bait. Suddenly, all the soldiers stopped working as a weapon, and an electric current appeared into the housing of each gun like a snake. Hey, yes, you in a white mask. Come here, vile assassin. Enrico stood in front of him with his arms raised and lowered down the barrel. Dad, Assassin said. Dad? It will definitely stop him, Carrion responded, who had a CN gun in his hands. The fighter did not have time to look at him, as he got 3 injured in the body, from which he was quietly and then he ran away from them. Only Enrico was able to notice that Assassin uses a stealth module. We almost happened to get it. Ah, fuck. W, are you alright? He did not hurt you? Said Ivan to him. Everything's fine. I was lucky. By the way, great shot with the pistol, Neptune. Enrico approached him. Seeing the gun of his enemy, he immediately took up his sharpened knife. Where did you get their gun? Do you work on them too? This is no longer funny, and if seriously, I stole him when my people have destroyed their outpost. Which, by the way, was not far from here. Carrion replied that after the guns in his hands. Why did you say it just now? We are looking for them. You just say that it destroyed one of their camps? Added Jack. Consider that we saved you from death. Sorry for my rudeness. I'm watching you. Jack told him that he tapped up his fingers on the shoulder. I listened to your instructions, Captain, Carlin addressed Enrico. We returned back to the headquarters. Collect your people and follow us, replied Enrico. In fact, the leader of CS knew that this soldier could be in the assassin costume, and he hoped to the end. That was exactly what he thinks. However, the other side of his soul gives him an alarm signal, and that this assassin is a sign that soon he and his people will come to the end. It took more than a month. Together with Carrion, Neptune, and his true friends, Enrico was looking for something that could lead them to the main headquarters, CN. Most of the time they conducted an operation to find their main enemies, and one day they managed to find them, or rather, one of their headquarters, which was 100 kilometers from the headquarters Civil Security. Enrico, Jack, Carrion, and his people went to another operation of penetration into enemy territory. The headquarters was on the mountain, and that is, the heroes had to climb here. And after a while, they got to their destination. So listen to me carefully. We must get inside unnoticed. The only problem is the fence, Enrico said. Ivan, how are you there? He said into the radio. Everything's going according to plan. A fence is stopping you. Well, I suggest you go to the main gate of the territory and attract one guard to you. Bad plan. They'll notice us one way or another. Since the territory is clean, it is better to blow. Since the territory is clean, it's better to blow up the fence. Karen confronted him. Are you crazy? They'll hear, said Jack. He's right. This will be a quick and effective method of penetration. But thanks for the idea, Cipher, Enrico added. Moreover, there are no snipers' towers here. Everything will be good. Let's just without these newfangled words, muttered Carrion. The CS soldiers planted an explosive device on the wall of the enemy wall. The size of the bomb was more than 1 meter, and as soon as everyone retreated to a safe distance, an unexpected situation happened. Patrol CN returned back to headquarters just along the road where the bomb was located. Without thinking twice, Enrico decided to blow up both the hole in the wall and the enemies themselves. Explosion! The heroes quietly ran to the destroyed section of the concrete fence. They reached the nearest building with a bullet to check it. This time they were unlucky. One of the CN people saw them and warned their allies about the uninvited guests. A whole regiment of armored soldiers in white suits and yellow visors, which already had flamethrowers as their main weapons, came out to the CS meeting, and then Enrico made the right decision with the outfit of his people, because the basic version of the civil security suit had the ability to absorb fire and explosions. The technology was created using the basic firefighter suit. True, not all elite troops managed to kill Enrico's detachment. 20 more CN soldiers were still alive, and they surrounded the heroes. Enemies were ready to shoot at them, but then the unpredictable happened. Well, who do I see? A leader that turned out to be a coward. I didn't think they'd be able to attack me. Herm said that he was in a matte white suit with a clean cotton cloak. I'm not afraid of you, do you hear me? I'm not afraid, Enrico shouted to him as he stood on the balcony of the building. Excellent. You came to take revenge on me. I want to disappoint you, Enrico. You'll not be able to do it. In return, I'll finish what I planned from the very beginning. Herms jumped from the 5th floor and landed flat on his feet without any damage. For 2 long years, I was looking for you. My people were looking for you. Bodyguards. And you yourself came to me like that. Unfortunate bait. What an irony. Die, you bastard! Jack escaped from the massive hands of enemy soldiers and approached Herms, but he could not hit or grab him. The leader of CN effortlessly overcame the warriors with 3 punches in the face, another blow of the shocker from which Jack almost passed out. He could only look at what was happening while lying on a muddy path made of stone. Oh, you really amaze me. Every time we see each other, you have different frills, like this idiot, said Herms, hinting at Thunderjack. Britain, we meet again. Do you remember me? Carrion said fiercely. You're stupid blonde from Libria. I thought I killed you when I threw you off the 7th floor. You haven't changed, Cooper. A noble smile spread across Carrion's face. Hermes became as if he was not himself and abruptly transferred the topic to the ex-leader of national civil security. Neptune, you're the most natural bunch of shit. What is the worst in your squad? Even now you continue to be below the baseboard? Hermes came closer and shouted, Ha! Who's the best now, Neptune? Maybe I'm below the plinch, but I have the honor. Besides, you bragged in front of everyone that you were the best in the Night Squad. But from what he heard, even Enrico was shocked, because all this time, he was fighting against a former soldier of good. I never boasted, did not mock, and did not humiliate people weaker than me. This is low, thereby you sucked up to our commander. But he did not agree with your opinions, because killing everyone who's not even guilty is the same thing as being a killer and a maniac. Carrion changed his look and his eyes were seething with anger. It was because of you that our entire team died. You killed them, and I had to avenge my teacher. It would be interesting to know what you're going to do to me now. You are all trapped. Hermes began to speak sarcasm. You know, I don't even know what to choose. To be noble and killed, or narcissistic and alive. What do you think? I think that it's better for you to shut your mouth, Jack said as he knocked Hermes down with his foot. Go, my brothers, go, he shouted. Enrico and his friends had a chance to get out of the ambush. The leader of CS, with a couple of accurate pistol shots, killed the 2 soldiers of CM who were holding his hands. The infantrymen also did not hesitate. They took up arms and began to shoot the enemies. Only Hermes was able to escape from the scene without the slightest damage. Carrion got angry and wanted to go after him, but he was stopped by Enrico and ordered to retreat until the help of the leader of CM came. Next time, the heroes will already know where their next target is. On October 14, 2936, Ivan Cipher asked the CS leader for permission to fly from Canada to Ukraine since he and Jack Swift were engaged in recruits. But this time, Ivan is already flying. But it turns out that he's not flying to Ukraine at all, but to Sir Sanford, the mountains that were far from their headquarters, and that's why he went there. Ivan Cipher flew in a spacecraft to the lowest part of the mountains himself. No one accompanied him, and as soon as he left the cockpit of the aircraft, he was met by soldiers in white suits. You're already here. I was waiting for you, Ivan. You're on time as always, said Hermes, who stood in front of his people. Yeah, compared to Ukraine, the cold here is just disgusting. And why did you invite me here? Ivan asked, as he had a slight excitement in his eyes. Why? Yes, everything is simple. I'll tell you what your problem is, bastard, said Hermes in an angry voice, from which Ivan's hair stood on end, but his stern look did not disappear anywhere. He clearly looked into the eyes of the leader of CM. And you are not a coward, although you really go on missions associated with us. And that's good. Come on, pick a good place for our conversation. They walked down the path down to a rocky clearing, near which there was a huge waterfall and several large pine trees. Leave us, calmly ordered the soldier's Hermes, which skillfully took out a cigarette from the pack. Well, what do you think about this view? Elegant as you, sir, Ivan answered him. I love hearing it from your lips. A man in a white jacket lit a cigarette and exhaled the first smoke. And one more thing. Take it. Cuban, the freshest and most expensive in the world. Hermes handed the cigar into his hand. Ivan said nothing and took it, but as soon as he wanted to take his lighter, he saw that somehow it was already smoldering in his hands. Don't thank me, Hermes told him, and you are fast even in this cold. I do not need meditation or any kind of raise or CS training. I'm that by nature. I can say that you're lucky, even very lucky. May I ask you something? Of course, my best agent. What exactly? Why are you always not in the mood? Maybe I'm wrong, but... Hermes interrupted him abruptly and answered Ivan's unusual question. It may sound silly, but I'm always unhappy. Always. Even when I killed the girlfriend of my most dangerous enemy. I could not enjoy something I was missing. Maybe I have already exhausted my stock of joy. I think you'd better focus on the conquest of America than the death of Enrico Huarquez. Do you really want him dead? Hermes looked at Ivan with a cold look and said, I always get what I want, and you know that very well. Until this cretin dies, my mind will not calm down and stop thinking about civil security. Once upon a time, I worked at Nout. There were good times. Until a new recruit joined us. Carian Neptune. Ivan's mouth was dry and he could not even get the word out, because if he said something superfluous, it could come to an end. This African has eaten away my brains for 4 long years, with his advice, his philosophy, his nobility. The only way to get rid of it was as possible getting rid of him is killing him. And to make it all believable, I staged it. All I needed was Karen's fingerprints. Several Nihil soldiers and Sergeant Milkor, of course, I had to kill them. I was not going to kill Neptune right away because then everyone would know that I was the main killer in the organization. Ivan was shocked by what he heard. It turned out that Hermes was a double agent. The mercenary's hands reached for his pistol like a snake, quietly and noiselessly, while Hermes looked at the waterfall. Sometimes I wonder if I need you or not. You are an ideal spy friend of Enrico Barquez, and also a good warrior with great combat experience. So at times it gets boring for me to watch people who perform the job for me, and you ask me, what are you going to do? What are you doing with them? And I will answer you. I am removing from my path. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Don't be afraid. You're not in danger. In most cases, spies remain spies and no one else. But such as bodyguards, I have to kill my best soldiers after their long use. The reason's very funny. I'm bored and the dirty work is being done for me. Then he asks, why do you need these super soldiers? They are people like us and you continue to make torments for them. What's the use? Ivan had already raised his pistol and was ready to shoot him. Sense. There is no sense in this. As well as the conquest of the world. Ivan lowered the pistol and then completely hid it so that he would not think that he was trying to kill him. War, power, money. And that's what we strive for. And these pitiful little people, like that young assassin Zero, he's a nobody in this world. He was nobody, and he remained an ordinary puppet, which can only be given orders. Do you understand? And so with security, they're trying to do something to help people. But how are they going to help if they can't protect themselves? No way. I agree, sir. If someone would rule the world, then only Correction 9, Ivan said, that he clearly and believably articulated his opinion. Why don't I have agents like you? Only Adam could equalize that score with you, but I assure you, you will not cope with such a task, because he served in race, and there are completely different rules. You mean McDonaghan? Don't be ridiculous, he's a mercenary. He works for money and nothing else. I work for the good of the organization, because we're trying to change the world and the fate of people. I am not like all these mercenaries. I do not need your money. You're really the best employee of our modest organization. You've been working for more than 8 years at CN. You're excellent hiding yourself in your information. Stubborn, just like a partisan. True, I hate such people, but I'll make an exception for you. Further, Hermes and Ivan talked about the plans of civil security. Some of them were true so as not to betray himself, and some of them he invented so as not to be a full-fledged traitor. Cipher was not going to betray CS. He had completely different plans. Cipher code. Thank you for the information. I'm glad you helped me. And now get out. I want to be with myself, said Hermes at last, when Ivan walked to his spaceship. And one more thing. The money's already on your ship. Happy journey. Ivan did not answer and walked onto his flying vehicle. Psh, idiot, Hermes said quietly. He was already throwing out his cigar butt. It's good that he didn't ask me about the location of the headquarters, Ivan thought to himself. October 16th evening, Ivan returned to CS, and Enrico drew attention to the long absence of his partner, and therefore he inquired, where did he disappear for so long? But Ivan had an advantage. He thought everything out in advance, and oddly enough, he really was in Ukraine at the headquarters of Major Shipovsky, and after this, a little tense interrogation. Cipher suggested something to the main character. Enrico, wait, Ivan barked at him when he was already 20 meters from him. Something important? Speak faster, they're waiting for me in the armory, said Enrico. Ivan leaned over to his ear and began to whisper to him the following. I plan on how to defeat CN in one fell swoop, but I need your help. Without you, I'll hardly be able to create this device. Speak louder, my friend. Here, everyone is yours. What is your plan? Took up Enrico's beard. We can create our own time machine. I know now you're going to say that this is a complete nonsense, but take my word for it. We have a great chance of success. This is not nonsense, but how do you plan to create it then? It's not what you think. It's a cipher code, the code that creates an alternate universe and transport you to another time. Sounds serious. Well, we'll discuss this later. Now our guys are completing a new Thunder project, Ghost Suit. Because of me, we'll test it. The suit which Jack Swift invented had the ability to make the user invisible for a limited time. The suit's battery kept it charged for more than 1 day, which was enough to perform long operations in which you need to be constantly hidden. The appearance of the armor itself really looked like a ghost because the visor of the helmet was pale green, which looked quite scary, and the suit itself was gray with shades of brown. Basically, it was created from reinforced polyurethane, which, by the way, was resistant to the impact of scalding plasma. After successful testing of Jack's project, the leader of civil security and Ivan Cipher decided to create a cipher code. There will also be a short history about him. Days passed. Failures. Every time they tried to redeem the code, things didn't go according to plan. And here's the reason for this. Ivan, we have been trying to activate this code for the 5th day. Are you sure that will work? Enrico asked him. Without a doubt, I am 100% sure, Ivan answered him as he was looking at the laptop screen and typing various key combinations in it. I don't understand. The satellite should already be turned off, but for some reason the system gives me an error. But that is, the satellite signal is working. So you want to hack the satellite? What were you thinking when you wanted to get a hold of this signal? Believe me, I thought for more than a year, Ivan sighed and netted his neck. Okay, let's try again then. Satellite.ist.com and sig.systemd. Work. sa.operational. ssk.con. gs operational. Fingers poked on the keys and millions of different commands and symbols flew in front of the hero's eyes. Well, if so, then come on, Ivan, you can handle it. Enrico supported his friend. Don't distract me, I almost managed to find the command I needed. Yeah, gotcha. Satellite.communications.stop. Now we need to redo this command. Will you be able to do this? Enrico asked in a serious tone that was standing next to him. In one fell swoop, you just need to insert one symbol, and this symbol is the first letter of our satellite dish. And as you know, it is very powerful. The signals will immediately find. Ivan carefully pressed the window with the satellite code with a holographic mouse, and then entered the letter C. Literally a minute later, the heroes heard their huge companion turn to the satellite, because the satellite was behind them. The satellite was in the building, and for it, a door was developed that, in the event of a malfunction of the satellite dish, it would close, and when it was working, the door would open from the outside, and the satellite looked into the open space. The satellite is not under our control. Glory to civil security and our work. Cipher, you're a master of your craft. Good work, brother. Enrico happily hugged him. That's not all. Now I'll enter something into the satellite system, but first, I'll use this thing. Ivan took a small silver flash drive from his pocket and inserted it into his laptop. Immediately, the blue CN symbol appeared on the screen. Enrico was very surprised and could not help but ask how he learned to use the technologies of enemies, to which Cipher replied, I sat in front of the monitor for a month to hack this thing. What about tracking? There'll be no unexpected surprises? Don't worry, W, I thought of everything. Besides, CN are not as smart as you thought earlier. Look, Ivan showed a picture in text which contains information about the latest project. Correction 9. Time twist. It's very stupid that they left this thing right under their noses at the base. And in general, why didn't you tell me about it in advance? Enrico said. Well, to be honest, I wanted to make a little surprise for us, but on the hike, I have already revealed its whole essence. So that's why you were at the headquarters all this time. You wanted to hack this flash drive to see what's hidden in it. On the one hand, I'm glad, but on the other, a little angry because we could have done it together. Ivan remained silent a little and then suggested, let's better tell others about our project. I'm not in the mood to talk about it now. Several weeks passed. Ivan and Enrico improved their plan to create the cipher code, and when the time came to use the device, Ivan forbade it to be used, as the project was considered a prototype and was unstable. On December 3rd, 2936, a mission appeared in the CSSO teams, and this time it was non-standard. To intercept the CN convoy, which was moving not so far from their headquarters, Enrico ordered Carrion to remain at headquarters to monitor the situation while they were on a mission. And so the leader of CS, Ivan Cipher, Jack Swift, and 20 other soldiers hid in ambush and waited until the enemy truck appeared on the road. Ivan, explosives for you. You know how to use them, said Enrico. Jack looked at the road. If they pass, give a signal. Everyone else will help us destroy these scoundrels, am I right? Yes, sir, shouted the foot soldier. Nice. No, we were waiting. Less than 5 minutes passed and the trucks were moving in their direction. But on their doors were plasma turrets that shot exactly at the explosives that Enrico, along with his brothers, had prepared for an ambush. Alas, and they were not condemned to do this. The truck stopped and a group of people in white armor with red neon inserts on their suits and dark machine guns, 1.5 meters in size, got out from there. And behind them was a man, short in stature, a brunette wearing a red raincoat and a gray suit. "These fools are here. Clear them up. They do not belong to this sacred ground," said the commander of the convoy. "The heck? How did they know about our plans?" whispered to Ivan and Jack. "Sacred ground? I don't remember that any of their families said anything about sacred," added Jack. "I agree. Let's just smear these creatures," Ivan said as he inserted the magazine to his machine. "Fire!" Enrico barked at his men. A massive skirmish began. Several people were already lying on the ground dead. These were the CS people perishing one after another, but no one retreated. Everyone stuck together like one big family. Only 5 soldiers died at the hands of Enrico and his brothers, and then the man in gray took off his cloak and went to fight on his own with the leader of civil security. Young Marquez accepted the challenge, therefore also removed all firearms for himself and left only a knife sharpened like a razor. "Marquez, the one whom Hermes is looking for," the man said to himself as he was fighting Enrico. "In person, my friend." Enrico punched him in the forehead and then threw him over his back to the ground. "State your name, because you look like a newcomer to the CN squad." "Gah! Hexagon!" 2 sharp blades the size of a dagger came out from the hand of the enemy, and with them he tried to get to the hero and inflict a deadly blow on him. "Your blood will be on my saint blade." "Ha ha ha ha! Hexagon. Familiar name. You're the main assistant of Hermes, and I remember how he lifted you with one hand and banged his head against the wall." Enrico smiled and hit him again, but already on the jaw with all his might. "You bastard. You can't listen to people behind them. You're violating one of 13 laws of Icarant 4, said the Hexagon in a high tone, which was already beginning to spit blood from its mouth. "Tell me how to live, newbie." The Hexagon got even more angry, and in a second he was already near the back of the hero. Suddenly, the blade was in Enrico's stomach, which made him scream in pain, but was not going to give up. He was able to break the sword of the Hexagon with one blow of his sword that was behind him. And then he cut off the left arm of his enemy. "Ah! Damn it, my hand! You'll pay for this." A small truck with its trailer was passing by on the road. He hit the Hexagon, and Enrico was able to jump to the side and escape. As soon as the car stopped, several raised task force people got out of it, from which the hero himself was shocked, because they were chasing them and had to kill them, not CN. The last Correction 9 soldier died at the hands of a woman in a dark suit with a brown helmet and green visor. She took off her helmet and let down her long, dark, wavy hair, which greatly mesmerized Enrico. Without thinking twice, he decided to ask them, "Why aren't Rays hunted for them?" "Good question. I and our squad do not kill people like you." "Do not be discouraged. It was not an insult," said the young woman. "You're rebels? But how did you manage to escape from power?" "I heard that Rays has very strict rules," Enrico said.